This is TWiT. So let's see. This week we have build. In fact, we're going to cover that tomorrow. I have to get up at 8 in the morning. Bill Gates wouldn't have done that to me.
That's a little early.
It starts at 8?
Starts at 8. Please get up before 8.
I have to get up at 6 or 7? It takes me an hour to put on my makeup and fix my face and hair. You're going to see a whole different Leo on Monday morning. So yeah,
you could just camp out at the office.
I should just stay here. Why go home?
Yeah.
So now we debated this because Daniel, you remember last year's Build keynote went for a world record 3.5 hours. So long they actually had a stretching session in the middle of it.
That's right. Which I refuse to participate in. I'm not that. Yeah.
Didn't they bring like a yoga person out and she showed people what to do?
Yeah, that was awkward. It was a little weird. I don't know what they're doing with these keynotes. Tomorrow's is going to be a little strange, too. They have 3 of them, technically. So there's the main one, which is Satya Nadella's Vision keynote. That's what I would say is the exciting one. But
that's a bad sign. If that's the exciting one.
That's one where the Vision stuff comes in, right? And we'll see some of the more interesting announcements. Unless you're really, really into Scott Guthrie's Azure server stuff, which is super important. I don't want to knock it down. It's just the one I usually pass on. But yeah, it'll be an interesting morning. So
it's going to be apparently because Satya Nadella's Vision thing is sometimes a little up in the clouds. They brought in Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley to explain it afterwards. They're going to do a post keynote kind of explainer. We will carry that, and then we'll do Windows Weekly shortly after that. Is it 3 or 1? I've gotten conflicting reports.
It
but anyway.
will, as far as I know right now, it's 3 o'clock.
It's on the schedule at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 Eastern. What is there anything, Daniel? Go ahead, Ann.
Does this mean that the developer conferences are starting to go back to being developer conferences instead of shows?
Yeah. I would actually say that started about 2 years ago. In fact, like the last big build that was really sort of like exciting was probably 2015. They gave out Xboxes to everybody that showed up, and that was back when they were very much tying things into device launches and software for those. And the conference now is much more professional, aimed at just pure developer news. And that's why it's gone from where they would get on stage. I mean, they even announced like years ago, like a Lumia phone on stage, right? And obviously they're not doing that anymore, but it's now much more focused just on software tools for the people who are paying what is a substantial amount of money to attend a developer conference and not get distracted by flashy, more consumer news, which they tend to now save for separate events. And with Google I/O right around the corner, obviously on Tuesday, whatever major news they make that would be consumer or pop culture-ish would quickly wane within 24 hours because of Google. So I think it's actually smart to keep the conference like this, but it makes it a little bit less interesting if you have been following these for a few years now.
You do have to give Satya Nadella a lot of credit, though. Microsoft joined the $1 trillion club this month.
Did you see that Bloomberg cover with that crazy font?
No.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah, so the cover of Bloomberg this week is how he saved Microsoft, and it's this really insane like 90s font. What did you think? Do you think he's really turned around the company?
Yeah, I mean,
hands down.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Oh God, look at that. That's hysterical.
The Delisance? Is that
the miracle of Microsoft? It looks like a detergent box.
Yeah, right. Like a.
The greatest.
That's like a Pepto-Bismol font.
No, guys, what it is it's those like cupcakes. You know what I mean? Like it looks like a cupcake you'd get at like a gas station or something.
And because the sun is coming up over his dome, you want to go, It's very Satya's in the clouds. That great font. It's yellow with a pink outline. The miracle of Microsoft. And then a kind of 90s, the greatest tech company of the 90s is back. That is a brilliant cover.
Yeah. I mean, perfect timing for Build.
Yeah, I love that. It is a miracle. It's a miracle. I mean, Microsoft was so dull. Their stock was flat for a decade. I mean, you could drive on it. It was so flat.
Yeah. No, they're doing really, really well. I mean, it's not the same exciting stuff on the Ballmer era, and Ballmer himself was always an entertaining person, whether in interviews, where Nadella is definitely a lot more restrained, I would say.
Yeah, but if you hold Microsoft stock, an entertaining CEO is not number one on the list of things you want.
Yeah, ask anyone who has Tesla stock, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, but I mean, I think the changes he's done, I'm not super happy. I wish things with like phone and everything.
Well, you
worked
work
out,
for a publication called Windows Central.
Sure. Yep.
And it's one thing Satya definitely did, and I think you commend him for it, is really when he arrived, Windows and Office were everything. They were the cash cow. They drove the company. He wisely, I think, saw that desktop operating systems were not the future, that the cloud was the future, and he pivoted that company. And thank God he did, because if Windows were still their fortune, it wouldn't be a very good story to tell.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that change probably should have happened years ago. I mean, back in 2007, they missed mobile. I mean, they were doing mobile, and they were actually at a head start in mobile. But as a company, they were focused on desktop and were completely ignoring where everything was going. The company now is positioned in a much more forward-leaning towards, looking forward to future, the next 10 years, where computing is going to be, and trying to get there ahead of everybody else. That's why it's so much focus on AI, machine learning, HoloLens, and these kind of technologies, which as consumers, we hear, and they're very esoteric words, and we're only starting now to see little bits of this stuff trickle into real world life. But obviously they're betting that, in 10, 15 years, this is how tech is going to be. And I think they're totally right on that. So
I agree, yeah.
But it's a little bit less exciting, at least initially, but it's important stuff.
No, and you know what? People like us don't do enterprise for a reason.
Right.
It isn't the most exciting thing ever. Consumer technology, I like consumer technology, but get me stories about Azure and Hadoop and data lakes, and I'm out. And which is good. It's good we have Mary Jo Foley on Windows Weekly, because
she loves that stuff.
She seems to care about that stuff, or else she's a very good actor.
Yeah.
But let me ask, is it really so? One of the reasons tech stocks have been going up is because after the tax cut, companies like Apple have been buying back stock like crazy. That's what they're doing with their repatriated money. And some say that's artificially pushing up these tech stocks. Do you think Microsoft's true value, has gone up by that much? Or is it a shell game a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously not a financial person per se, so but from what I understand, their valuation seems to be well within the range of being kind of conservative. I think because everybody looks at their profits in the cloud computing area, which is just known to be a growth area. There's not a ton of competition, though the competition there with Amazon and Google, I would say, is significant, and obviously major players. But they seem to have a firm grasp and vision on where they're going. So it just seems like it's betting on a future business that seems to be doing well. And the company itself is very conservative, I would say, in terms of how it approaches new problems or products, and makes it a little bit safer to invest in. But yeah, the stock buyback thing is always an interesting angle. These companies are sitting on a ton of money these days. And so we're entering a new era of this like massive hyper-capitalism, with some of these companies hitting over $1 trillion, making $30 billion in revenue per quarter. It's a new level.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. So
yeah. Well, I mean, if you thought that the margins were nice on advertising, the margins are crazy on cloud computing. And I think that's a big thing, is that they're just making, there's not a lot that they have to really do to make a lot of money on that. And I think Microsoft's also done an amazing job staying out of the that companies like Facebook, Amazon, Google have gotten themselves into, except for like the GitHub acquisition, which was like a little bit of drama. Like they really, stay pretty well outside of a lot of the issues.